Welcome to the It Brand, where we discuss the intersection of celebrity, consumer goods, influencing, and marketing. In each video, we'll deep dive into a celebrity founded or backed brand. My name is Jen. Today, we're going to talk about the arguably kind of OG influencer and certainly one of the most polarizing, Kim Kardashian, and her brands KKW and Skin, which is SKKN. As an aside, everything here is my opinion, certainly grounded in facts, but those facts were found on the internet, so I guess blame the internet if this is wrong. Socialite turned influencer, turned entrepreneur and actress, and sometimes activist, Kimberly Noel Kardashian was born October 21st, 1980 in LA to Robert and Kris Kardashian. So she's one of the notorious Kardashian-Jenner clan. I'm sure you're all at least kind of tangentially familiar with. Her older sister, Kourtney, younger sister, Khloe, both Kardashian, and younger brother, Rob, I believe, Kardashian, as well as then younger sisters, Kendall and Kylie Jenner. The matriarch of the family is Kris Jenner. Kim's father, Robert Kardashian, was an attorney who most notably represented O.J. Simpson during his murder trial. Just as an aside, I'm going to use the name Kim to talk about her instead of Kardashian, simply because I don't want to confuse the person with the family brand as a whole. So a couple of things to note from that very brief bio. One, she grew up with money and privilege. And two, she grew up, if not famous, then at least kind of in the shadow of fame or right next to fame. And so much is known about her that it feels a little superfluous to talk about her and kind of her two most recent beauty brands. But I think she's a fascinating figure upon which we can examine cultural changes happening in real time. I don't think it's radical to note that celebrity is often a proxy for the way we examine culture, because celebrities are a manifestation of culture. You know, in the US especially, where celebrity is so intertwined with culture, we can ask ourselves, do they, meaning celebrities, shape culture, or do they reflect it back to us? And the answer is going to be yes and yes. And I think of Kim Kardashian as the ultimate symbol of the idea of celebrity, at least as we understand it kind of today in the 21st century. She is absolute fame, sometimes in a way that it's simply for fame's sake. We've all probably heard of the Kardashian clan as a whole, and then Kim in particular, that she's famous for simply being famous. And I don't think that tells the whole story. I'm also really fascinated, particularly with Kim Kardashian, by this rebranding that happened to her makeup line from KKW to Skin by Kim. And I think whether conscious or unconscious, that her rebranding her makeup line and more kind of broadly rebranding herself has more to do with realigning herself with whiteness than anything else. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about Kim, her history, her entrepreneurial spirit, and what ultimately led to Skin by Kim. Now, Kim has allegedly always been entrepreneurial. The story goes that she was selling designer shoes on eBay while in high school, and then opening a clothing boutique called Dash with her sisters Khloe and Kourtney in 2006. At the same time, she was friends with both Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, for whom she was a stylist, along with the ever-amazing Brandy. And as a side note, she was later sued, I believe, by Brandy's mom for making a ton of purchases on her Amex. She's made frequent appearances on The Simple Life. Kind of her big break, as it were, was when she had a sex tape that was leaked on the internet in 2007. Now, the tape was recorded in 2003. Vivid Entertainment distributed the film under the title Kim Kardashian Superstar. And no matter what you think about her, and I know probably all of you have some opinions about her, having your privacy violated like that is super gross. And I'm going to take her at her word when she said she didn't give consent to this. And even though she's been accused by many, most notably Ian Halperin, of using the tape as a publicity stunt, I'm inclined to give her the benefit of the doubt on this one. Now, Halperin claims a source told her, meaning Kim, that producing a tape would make her more famous and that Kris Jenner orchestrated the whole thing. But Kim's been pretty open that it was a violation, even though she's quote, not naive to the fact that it boosted her fame. Ultimately, she received between 3 and 5 million from Vivid Entertainment as a lawsuit settlement. Now, the other thing that happened in 2007, the thing that arguably kind of changed our culture for better or worse, was the Kardashian family starred in a television show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It aired on E! Through 2021. It's still on today in some version as The Kardashians, which is on Hulu, started in 2022. According to one article, the family agreed to star in the show to bring more attention to the sisters' boutique, so to Dash, but the show had a much longer life than Dash, which shuttered in 2018. There were a bunch of spin-offs from Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Kim also posed for Playboy in 2007, and she has some acting credits to her name. She appeared on Dancing with the Stars. It's definitely clear she wanted fame, and she found it. By 2010, she had a bunch of endorsement deals: Skechers, Sugar Factory lollipops, OPI nail polish, diet pills. Madame Tussauds had a wax figure of her. She put out a book called Kardashian Confidential, with a K, and that's going to be kind of a running theme. She put that out in 2010, which was an autobiography about her and her sisters, Kourtney and Khloe, and it made the New York Times bestseller list. In 2011, she famously married Chris Humphries in an $18 million wedding that lasted only 72 days. And even after that, she continued getting exposure. She wrote a novel, she released a bunch of fragrances, she won a Razzie for the Worst Supporting Actress in Tyler Perry's Temptations, Confessions of a Marriage Counselor. And aside from brand endorsements, she slapped her name, often with her sisters, on a bunch of products. A Kardashian MasterCard called the Kardashian Card, again with a K, a Kim Kardashian Hollywood app. She had a Kim Kardashian clothing collection at Sears. She founded a website, Shoe Dazzle, where you can find shoes, a jewelry line called Belle Noel, a Sunless Tanner, a skincare line called Perfect Skin, some candles. You get the idea. A lot of launched and failed ventures. And part of me is like, well, at least she was trying, like, good for her. But let's also be real. Average people do not have this many opportunities to launch this many failed ventures. Her family, her connections, her fame, her internet presence allowed for this. Frankly, even her conformance to and sometimes shaping of beauty standards allowed this pattern of failure that wouldn't be afforded to most. One notable, I would say, kind of proto brand to her later color cosmetics lines was Chroma, which is KHROMA, so with the K, launched in 2012 with her sisters. Now, this brand has had like multiple lawsuits by existing companies with similar names, like another one called Chroma without the H. So it was ultimately rebranded as Kardashian Beauty with a line of hair care products. This was actually the same year in 2012 that I believe Kylie launched her own brand. People kind of liked it too. It was when this kind of rebrand happened, it was an accessible drugstore brand, and they had makeup, hair products, fake lashes, etc. A former employee of the Kardashian Jenners said, quote, "Obviously, the biggest problem for Chroma Beauty was its name, but another big struggle for the brand was probably the level of involvement from the sisters." In 2016, the three Ks, so Khloe, Kourtney, and Kim, were sued by business partner Hilaire Capital Management, who claimed that they, the capital management company, put up $10 million into the business after they bought out the sisters' earlier business partner, Boldface. Because they were unhappy with the deal, the 3Ks ultimately just stopped promoting the brand. And Hilaire felt like they were missing out on millions worth of sales. Ultimately, though, the Kardashians were awarded. So another quote from that same former employee, quote, "Kourtney, Kim, and Khloe weren't super invested in Kardashian Beauty personally, and were putting the Kardashian name on a lot of products at the time. The family was basically a package deal. But with the rise of Instagram and social media influencers, the sisters realized the potential of individual projects. While they all had individual personalities and quirks on the show, social media gave them the opportunity to capitalize on those individual personalities and reach an exponentially bigger audience. From there, they have had the opportunity to expand their personal brands beyond what viewers saw on TV. The other thing that happened around this time in 2014, which was definitely a cultural touch point of Kim's career, was Paper Magazine's Break the Internet cover with Kim Kardashian in 2014. Photographer Jean-Paul Goude recreated his famous champagne incident image with her, and we're going to talk about that later on in the video, but just keep that in mind. Shortly after that, so in 2015, Kim released a portfolio book called Selfish, which is a cute name for a book of selfies. Allegedly, at the time, she could be paid up to $300,000 for a post on Instagram. She had over 67 million Instagram followers and 44 million followers on Twitter. I don't have a ton of context for that, but let's just say that's a lot. In 2015, Fortune magazine suggested that her net worth was $52.2 million. She was married to Kanye West by now. She was allegedly friends with uber famous people like Beyonce and Jay-Z, posing for Vogue, hanging out with Anna Wintour. So I think the question is, why not follow in her baby sister's successful footsteps and start her own line of makeup? So she founded KKW Beauty in 2017. Allegedly, Kim helped design and promote the brand, while Cited Beauty, which is now ColourPop, handled everything else, from developing and manufacturing the cosmetics to packaging and shipping them to customers. KKW Beauty launched with a contour kit for $48. It sold out in minutes and brought in $13 million in sales. So the brand then expanded to include things like body makeup, eyeshadows, foundations, glosses, etc. Marketing for the brand included leveraging Kim's social media presence. With her massive following, she could bypass a lot of traditional marketing and act as brand ambassador for her own brand. She did makeup tutorials with well-known beauty influencers like Mario, Nikki Tutorials, her Power of Makeup series, Patrick Starr. She also did collaborations with the same influences and with others like her sister and Allison Stater. She also, I did not know this, she had a reality show called Glam Master. It was a reality TV competition for makeup artists. So 4 makeup artists would go kind of head to head on challenges. Now the winner collaborated on a makeup line for KKW, creating a limited edition cream color sticks. As far as the reception went for KKW Beauty, overall, people kind of thought it was cheap. Packaging wasn't great. It felt cheap. People compared it to dollar store packaging, which doesn't bode well for a very pricey brand. It was shipped in aluminum bags, which was off-putting to people. But the reviews, though, were kind of mixed. So people really liked the creamy texture and the color range of the contour sticks. There were lots of nude lipsticks, which is kind of a Kim Kardashian hallmark. Other standouts, the highlighters, the shimmers. But the price point was really criticized heavily, and that will be kind of a theme throughout a lot of this. And some reviewers found the formulas heavy or not very long-lasting. The general consensus was that it was gimmicky, that it looked heavy, that it looked phony. I do think Kim's shtick as the time was kind of gimmicky. Everything about her was over-the-top extravagance, was glam. So I think it fit the brand of Kim Kardashian. And the line expanded and the line did well. It generated an estimated revenues of about $100 million in 2019. Like Kylie Cosmetics, the brand was initially launched online before moving into Ulta stores in October of 2019. Kim also launched her very successful shapewear and clothing company, Skims, in the same year, in 2019. Now, in 2020, Cited filed a lawsuit against KKW seeking protection of trade secrets. They had also actually filed a lawsuit against Kylie Cosmetics for the same reason, and we will talk about Kylie Cosmetics at a later date. Because both KKW Beauty and Kylie Cosmetics were purchased, at least partly, by Coty. which is a big makeup company who own a lot of brands or stakes in a lot of brands. They bought a 51% stake in Kylie Cosmetics and a 20% stake in KKW Beauty. And with that purchase, the brand was actually discontinued in 2021. It was worth about $1 billion when it was discontinued. So why was it discontinued? Was Kim trying to kind of seriously her image at this point? I think the answer is yes. She filed for divorce from Kanye that same year in 2021, and the divorce was finalized in 2022. There was some speculation that she didn't want the W for West associated with her after her divorce from Kanye West, and so maybe that was part of the rebrand. She was also trying to take the bar. I think it took her 4 attempts to pass the baby bar. Her father, remember, was an attorney. I'm not going to psychoanalyze why she was trying so hard to be taken seriously as an attorney, because she did work pretty hard for it, despite reaching the level of wealth and fame that she already had. But here is a quote. Quote, "I know my dad would be so proud and would actually be shocked to know that this is my path now, but he would have been my best study partner. I am told he was notorious for making fun of people who didn't pass the bar in their first attempt like he did, but he would have been my biggest cheerleader." Now, Kim has commented on a desire to help people. She's expressed interest in criminal justice reform, which does need it, so more power to her. Do I think maybe she has political aspirations? Well, she wouldn't be the first reality star to have them. It's easy, I think, to be really cynical about the why behind the why behind anything that she does, really. But I'm going to be naive here and assume maybe she just really wanted to prove something to her dad or to herself. So 2021, KKW Beauty is done. 2022, her marriage is over. She starts dating the dude that all celebrity women must date at some point, which is Pete Davidson. And then she launches Skin. So Kim gives a few reasons for this rebrand/relaunch of her beauty brand. It was partly, she said, rebranded due to Skims, the clothing line's success. She said, quote, "What I've learned with Skims is that it's really a product-based brand. It's not really a celebrity brand in my eyes. That's exactly what I'm doing with Skin." In 2024, she told People magazine about the rebrand. Quote, "We had KKW Beauty, KKW Fragrance, and then I would have done KKW Skin. The customer would have had to go to 3 different sites in order to purchase products with different shipping costs, different manufacturers, and we'd have 3 different social media accounts. I wanted all of my brands to live under one brand so that it was easier for the consumer. Being able to consolidate with better, newer, and more innovative products for our consumers was the ultimate goal." I think it's meant to be a cleaner line as well, kind of a less gimmicky brand than KKW Beauty. She certainly argues that it's not a celebrity brand, but it's obviously impossible to decouple Kim from the brand. It's still her face on the marketing collateral, on the Instagram. It's still her presence, her image, all over the brand. It is a much beiger, paler, whiter presence. Now, you all may recall the scandal of Kim wearing Marilyn Monroe's dress to the Met Ball. And you may recall the criticism that she received for talking so openly about the drastic measures that she took to lose weight. This came at a time when she was certainly shedding pounds and shedding anything that previously would have been associated with the kind of blackness. She and the whole Kardashian sort of dynasty had certainly been accused prior to this of appropriating black culture for clout for years. And when we see the culture as a whole begin to shift to a culture that glorified whiteness, not that white femininity or whiteness in general hasn't always been glorified, but there certainly was some clout with racial ambiguity in the early 2010s. But when that clout started dying away, Kim was able to morph into a whiter version of herself. And we see other examples of this. Ariana Grande, who was accused of blackfishing for years, Miley Cyrus. And when cosplaying other races and ethnicities no longer served her, Kim was able to sort of reinvent herself as a white woman and assume all the privileges that that entails. In many ways, I think losing that curvy persona and putting on the costume of Monroe's dress allowed Kim to eschew the costume of blackness that she had put on. And this shift also comes with a political shift toward conservative cosplaying. Kim's comments to Vanity Fair around this time fall into this too. In an interview with Variety, Kim gave unwanted advice for other women in business, saying, quote, "I have the best advice for women in business. Get your effing ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days," which is obviously absurd. It's this idea that it's only because you're lazy that you're unsuccessful, that it has nothing to do with systemic or society concerns. It's not oppressors, it's your fault. And we see this kind of conservative thinking also come when she's shifting to a more kind of clean girl aesthetic. And it's evident in her skin line. And she's really kind of lining up some conservative credentials here. She had a crypto controversy where she was fined $1.26 million because she touted kind of crypto token without disclosing that she had been paid for the promotion. She also has a private equity firm now called SKKY Partners. And she relaunched her beauty line with a much more beige aesthetic. So let's talk about that beauty line, Skin. So Skin was launched in 2022 with a 9-step skincare line. According to the Skin website, the line was created because of Kim's psoriasis diagnosis. It was formulated with Kardashian esthetician Joanna Check. The name Skin was met with criticism because a Black-owned skincare studio had used the name Skin Plus since 2018. The packaging is very minimal. It's been described as appealingly architectural. It is, as I said, very beige. The brand has been accused of greenwashing. Kim has called it a clean brand in her launch announcement. We saw that. I think most of us probably know that the term clean is like a marketing buzzword. It doesn't really have much meaning, but it is a word that we see touted out by like every celebrity brand right now. There have been accusations that the packaging is touted to be more sustainable than it truly is. The bottles are refillable. The refills are made with recycled materials that are delivered in compostable bags. The products are all cruelty-free, vegan. They meet clean standards of retailers like Sephora, though it's not sold on Sephora. It is a direct-to-consumer or a DTC brand, not sold anywhere but their website. The mission statement for the brand, quote, "Born from my lifelong passion for beauty and inspired by the insider secrets I've gathered over the years, I created Skin by Kim to make premium skincare and makeup accessible to everyone. My mission is to redefine beauty standards, champion inclusivity, and inspire confidence through our efficacious product line. I can't wait for these products to become part of your daily routine." And we're going to talk about that word accessible in a minute. So there's not necessarily a single kind of hero ingredient or product. Like I mentioned, it was launched with a 9-product lineup, inspired, Kim claims, by her own beauty regimen. Here are the prices. It's a whopping $43 for a cleanser, which I will remind you rinses off immediately. It's $90 for a hyaluronic acid serum. It's $45 for a toner, $90 for a vitamin C serum. So all the prices are like this. They range anywhere from $38 to $95. And taken individually, these prices are steep, but considering these are meant to be used all together, that would set you back a whopping $575. And as you can guess, the reception was mixed to kind of, Many online pointed out that celebrities have access to all kinds of in office treatments that us normal people don't. So even if they, Kim in this case, claim to use these products, most people won't achieve the same effect without other interventions. And the prices are obviously insane. There were a lot of comments too that the brand feels old fashioned for two reasons, actually, both because of the 9 step directive and because of the products themselves. There's no SPF. It has a physical exfoliant, which many dermatologists can recommend against. She has not added to the line since it was launched either. There is some speculation that many of the brands that the whole kind of Kardashian Jenner squad put out are simply cash grabs, meaning they have big, splashy launches, they sell out, and then they fade away. I don't think that's necessarily the case here, but I do think it's worth noting that the brand hasn't expanded at all in their skincare line. Maybe that's not really Kim's passion, despite her claim during the launch that skincare is a passion. I don't know. Now, the other thing, in October of 2022, Skin by Kim also launched a set of home goods. They're made of concrete. Each item comes in that kind of one neutral grayish beige shade that mirrors the packaging of the skincare line. It's not cheap again. A tissue box will run you $89. A canister to hold your Q-tips will run you $65. It's a $129 trash can. And a cotton round container that's $69. You can get the 5-piece bundle for $355, and I don't know if that's a steal because I didn't actually add up all these prices. Then we get to the makeup relaunch in 2024. So she says, quote, "I've recently been taking a skin-first approach to my beauty routine. In developing my new makeup, my goal was not only to create universally flattering cosmetic essentials, but also to ensure that our products are clean, hydrating, comfortable, and help improve the look and feel of skin with every wear. Just like our skincare collection, our makeup was inspired by the beauty secrets I've gathered from industry experts over the years." Prices are, again, inflated, I would say. And that's kind of the thing that people immediately note. For example, the lip liner is $22. Online makeup reviewers, though, do tend to enjoy the products. People like the eyeshadow quality, the buildability of the eyeshadow quite a bit. They like that the liners are quite creamy, but again, the price is such a sticking point. And there doesn't seem to be much differentiation from other brands other than the Kardashian name. There's also a lot of comparisons between her eyeshadow palette and the Makeup by Mario palette. Now, as I mentioned, the skincare line hasn't had any new launches. Like, they haven't launched anything outside of that 9-step regimen. But the makeup line has. So in June 2024, they dropped highlighters and shimmer glosses. October 2024, some more lip shades. November 2024, another eyeshadow palette. For KKW Beauty, when Kim was launching that, she was on a lot of big makeup YouTube influencers channels to promote the product. It was definitely like a Kim Kardashian project. It's less so with this. She's still heavily featured on the social promo, but she's not the only one. Now, I think it's still popular. Instagram has the Instagram has 5.5 million followers, for example. So Kim has said that she doesn't get her makeup done that often anymore, and that she's opting for less glam these days, which I think aligns with this new kind of clean girl aesthetic that she's going for. She says, quote, "That has definitely changed over the years," adding, "I really do enjoy doing my makeup and doing it lighter than I probably have." She said, "I do work a lot, though." Another quote from around this time, she says she's sticking to a more fresh-faced look these days rather than the more glam style she used to rock, and tapping into some of the tips she's picked up from her mom. She says, when it comes to keeping her skin healthy and glowing, her favorite thing to do is to get a makeup removing scrub at the end of the night and use a washcloth. Quote, "It's as simple as that." which we know it's not that simple, of course, but if she didn't pretend it was that simple, we wouldn't buy into her unattainable beauty standards. So she couldn't sell those to us in a very neat package. And I do want to return to my thesis that Skin by Kim is partly a rebrand to align more closely with Kim's rebrand and her return to whiteness, whether conscious or unconscious. There's a great article by Steffi on Substack called White Women Want Their Power Back that I think really highlights what has been going on, not just with Kim, but with all of the Kardashians and with a lot of other celebrities as they rebrand themselves in the mid 2020s. So in the article, which was written in 2023, Steffi quotes a friend, quote, "The reality is that there was once a lot of social capital in cosplaying as ethnically ambiguous." This is a quote by journalist Ade Anibada. Quote, "Aggressively tanning and styling yourself enough so that people assume that at least one of your grandparents is from a minority group and you don't plan on correcting them. That social capital is now drying up as white women reassert the new standard, which is defined by exclusivity." She goes on to say, quote, "I wonder whether white girls are cool again. Or more than that, there is a degree of security and exclusivity with the reclaiming of whiteness and being perceived as the apex of femininity." So I don't think it's a leap to say that Kim was blackfishing 10 years ago. I want to talk a little bit about that paper magazine cover I mentioned from 2014. So here we have two images. One of Kim with her very ample behind able to act as a shelf for a glass of champagne, and one that's kind of more provocative even, of her bare behind exposed. There's another with her breasts fully exposed as well. I would guess that the images are altered in some way because the artist, Jean-Paul Goude, is known for subtle distortion in his photographs. Honestly, we don't have time in this video to get into the problems of Photoshops and filters that Kim and the other Kardashians so obviously use to promote themselves because I don't want to talk for another hour, so we can save that for another video. But back to this. So the image here is actually a recreation of an image that the photographer made in the 70s, in 76, of Black model Carolina Beaumont. And I have very little doubt that this is meant to fetishize the Black female form, which is troubling by itself, but particularly for the fact that the Black female form, especially in the West, has been objectified, fetishized, and degraded for centuries. If anyone is familiar with the story of Saartjie Baartman, this won't be a new idea to you. She was an African woman in the late 18th, early 19th centuries, sometimes referred to as the Hottentot Venus, who was literally put on display, nude, for Westerners to gawk at, to comment on, to touch. She was deeply exploited during her lifetime, and even in death, her body was on display in Paris until the mid-20th century. She has for many become a symbol of the intersection of racism, sexism, capitalism, colonization, and objectification that has been placed on the Black female form. And to create this image of Kim and on Kim's part feels real gross, man. It's so deeply gross. And of course, 10 years ago, Kim isn't unwittingly put on display. She is putting herself on display, her fakely ethnicized body, right? No doubt she's capitalized on the public's fascination with her body, but she's celebrating something with her white body that was and still is a subject of fascination and degradation for Black women. And it all just feels super gross. And it's also not something I think we'd see her do now. Sometimes she's blonde, she has a smaller body. I mean, she's still quite voluptuous, but she's obviously much slimmer than she was, and that's obviously quite intentional. Now, Kim has a net worth, allegedly, I think these are sometimes inflated, of $1.7 billion. In 2023, Cosmetify ranked the most successful celebrity cosmetics brands, and Skin by Kim was 13, just after Lady Gaga's House Labs. In March of this year, Kim actually bought back her 20% stake from Coty and has plans to fold it into her Skims label. I I've seen a few videos. I've seen a few videos on YouTube of people saying that the Kardashians and Kim in particular are over. But I was actually just watching a documentary on a totally separate issue called Social Studies. It's about teens and social media. I will link, just as an aside, everything that I'm talking about below. It's going to be, I'll link it in the notes for you guys so you can reference anything that I'm talking about. But this documentary, Social Studies, has so many of these kids referencing Kim Kardashian. One of the young women said, quote, Kim K, she got famous for the sex tape and platforms like TikTok. If you put out that content, you could become a multimillionaire. Another said, if I could become a multimillionaire with a giant company and as famous as Kim Kardashian, I would release a sex tape. Her whole life is set up. She's super famous. There's a lot of admiration for her from this younger kind of Gen Z generation. And what's interesting is I do think we see this admiration for Kim Kardashian coupled with Gen Z, not all, this is certainly painting with a broad brush, but a Gen Z that is tending to trend more conservative in their values. And so I find that fascinating that we see that Kim's not going anywhere, certainly for this younger generation, that she's aligned herself more with whiteness now, and that this kind of exclusivity of whiteness has become quote unquote cool again. I think that's something to ponder. Toward the beginning of this video, I asked, like, do they, meaning celebrities, shape culture, or do they reflect it back to us? And I think it is a bit of a chicken and egg situation, right? Like, it's clear that Kim has seen this cultural shift in the past, let's say 4 or 5 years, toward conservatism, both on social media, but also in sort of politics in general, that has celebrated whiteness and white femininity and the exclusivity of that. And it's clear that she began to reflect that back to us. Like, she's holding up a mirror, but then pulling society kind of further into that image. And, again, I mentioned she's not the only white celebrity to capitalize on blackfishing 10 years ago, and then more recently pivoting to embrace their overt whiteness. Ariana Grande, Miley Cyrus, other influencers, the Kardashians. And so I do think that it's just worth noting that her rebrand has aligned with this, but that I don't think she's going to go anywhere anytime soon, for better or worse. Okay, so that's it. Let me know if I missed anything about Kim Kardashian. She's had a long, storied history and a very interesting relationship with fame. In the next video, we're going to talk about Hailey Bieber and Rhode. And if there are any celebrities or brands that you want me to talk about, just let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Bye. So, I think so average people do not have this many opportunities to lunch. Okay. Duh. Okay.